An eternity can feel like a whole year, or maybe even longer than that. An eternity can also feel like 7 months. But in the case of my San Francisco 49ers, an eternity can feel like 10 days. And as we head into this week 4 matchup against the Arizona Cardinals in the second game of their 3-game homestand, it honestly felt like that. It honestly felt like an eternity since the 49ers' very last game, week 3 against the New York Giants in their home opener. And then after that, after we talked about it, it felt like a really long waiting period. Like, maybe I didn't make good use of my time. Maybe I was just like chilling, relaxing. It felt like, well, like the Niners, kind of a mini bye week of sorts. Even though, I was doing my own thing, but I don't know. What'd you guys think? What did you guys do during your like mini time off as a Niner fan? I don't know. But anyway, here we are on the cusp of another game for the 49ers as they head into the second game, like I said, of their 3-game homestand. But, a couple months beforehand, as we were heading into the season, the Arizona Cardinals on paper looked like, one of those easy games, one of those like fill-in opponents. But here we are now, what are we, 3 to 4 weeks into the season? No longer. This is a team that, you can no longer take lightly, ladies and gentlemen, even though they're still a team with many flaws, but they are a team that will go down fighting. So looking at the past week that was for both of these teams, for the Arizona Cardinals, they had the upset of the week in week 3 after 2 consecutive weeks of not being able to finish the story in both of their games. The first one being against Washington, and then the second week blowing a big halftime lead over the New York Giants. They managed to jump to another big halftime lead over the Dallas Cowboys, who many thought had this big, bad defense and a pretty strong offense. But no, they actually managed to jump up over Dallas. And then this time around, unlike the week prior against the Giants, they managed to hold serve with an efficient team performance and taking advantage of Dallas's many, many mistakes to actually beat them, get their first win under new head coach Jonathan Gannon, 20-16, which, is a victory in of itself. I didn't expect it. Nobody expected it, but good for them. Meanwhile, for my 49ers, they kicked off the week that was week 3 on a very short week, flying home from their second home down in Los Angeles after a win against the Rams to play the New York Giants at home on a Thursday. And, they had a shaky first half, especially from second-year quarterback Brock Purdy. He didn't exactly have a good first half performance, through a lot of near interceptions in the first couple of series. But nonetheless, he eventually settled in along with the rest of the offense, and they eventually shut down Daniel Jones in the offense in the second half too, and beat them 30-12. So, not exactly the best performance in the first half, but they managed to get it done. So, when you look at this, both of these teams, for the 49ers, obviously you have a pretty stacked offense, and then, for the defense, you're also pretty stacked. But again, you cannot take this team lightly against Arizona. Sure, they have many flaws in terms of the quarterback's block with Josh Dobbs, but they're playing with condition. They're playing with a little bit of like inspiration, some fire in their ass right now. So you cannot overlook how Jonathan Gannon is having them a little bit inspired in their hearts right now. So in terms of the injury report for both of these teams, they're kind of coming in a little beat up per se. So both of them are actually coming in with a few key players out. In terms of the Arizona Cardinals, they won't have 2 of their key defensive players out there, with the case being for the pass rush defensive tackle Jonathan Ledbetter out with the finger injury, and then linebacker Josh Woods out with the ankle injury. 2 of those players left during the Dallas game. And then on the offensive side, offensive lineman Paris Johnson, he popped up late in the injury report on Friday. He was a limited participant, downgraded with an ankle issue. They listed him as questionable, but we will see if the Cardinals will let him play or he's going to be downgraded to out. Meanwhile, on the 49ers side, receiver Deebo Samuel is questionable to play after a rib injury that he incurred by landing on the football in the Giants game. And then there was a knee issue that popped up during practice week. Kyle Shanahan noted that This was a new one that suddenly occurred, but we'll see if he will be good to go before warmups. So we will see. Juwan Jennings is not likely to play with the shin injury. Like, I didn't know where this popped up. I don't even know if he played on week 3, but hopefully he can. But I don't think it's likely. But I guess they're going to play the long game with this with some of these injuries. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. Brandon Ayuk, though, is expected to play after missing week 3 with the shoulder injury. But like I said, it was a good thing that they rested him during week 3 because like they were coming off a very short week, and now that with the extra time off, he's able to come back in, especially in a spot where Debo may not play, and now you have Juwan Jennings, their third depth receiver, probably not going to play in this game. So you're going to need some of the firepower that you can with your top receiver and Brandon Ayuk. And then this is probably going to be a spot where you're going to need your rookie receiver, Ronnie Bell, to step up. And then obviously you have George Kittle, your tight end. So you're going to need all the help you can get at the receiver spot, because you don't know. Again, you don't know if Debo's going to be out there. You don't know if Juwan, you're probably not going to get Juwan. So that receiver spot's going to be kind of thin on Sunday. On the defensive side, Ambry Thomas is going to play in this game. I believe so. He missed the last one with the knee issue. And then Dre Greenlaw, the linebacker, is listed as questionable with an ankle injury after he had an awkward sequence late in the game against the Giants. So overall, a couple of players for both sides are going to be either missing this game or have some question marks going in. So, looking at in terms of this game for both of these teams, some of the things that I'm personally looking for is that obviously I would like to see Brock Purdy get off to a little bit of a cleaner start. He certainly had that in the first 2 games against the Steelers and the Rams. I mean, maybe it was the short week that pretty much affected him. And maybe it's the offensive line that didn't do him any favors either, but he's got to make a little bit some more better decisions with the football. He threw a couple of bad throws that could have been interceptions, but frankly, they weren't. So, yeah, he has to get off to a little bit of a better start and make better decisions. And so does that offensive line around him. Because if the offensive line also gets off to a slow start, then these things will pretty much happen. So you got to get off to a better start, especially against a team that, it seems like it's rebuilding, but they're actually fighting. They're actually a fighting team that people are putting as massive underdogs, pal. So speaking of this massive underdog team in the Arizona Cardinals, yeah, the preseason report had them as, they're going to get the first overall pick. I had them jotting out as the first overall pick, especially, looking at the roster construction, it's not exactly great, pretty poor. And you didn't know when you're going to get starting quarterback Kyler Murray into the lineup, if he is going to come out of the lineup at all after tearing his ACL very late in the season. But like I said countless times, they're taking the very heavy underdog role pretty seriously. And they're learning lessons along the way too. Like they finally learned how to finish games in week 3 and cleaned up some of those self-inflicted issues from the first 2 weeks of the season. Josh Dobbs pretty much taking care of the football compared to week 1, where he was just like kind of pretty sloppy with the thing. So they also found a new strength along the way, and that was in the red zone defense. But it was also part because Dallas was pretty much inflicting that on their own in the red zone. They couldn't score, so that will surely be put to the test against the 49ers team that is gonna beat you. That's going to bend you in that end zone spot. So looking at some of the keys to victory for both of these teams, for the Arizona Cardinals, you got to attack the secondary downfield. Credit to Josh Dobbs. He did a good job finding wide open receivers such as Marquise Brown and Rondale Moore, attacking a strong Cowboy secondary that ended up getting torched. I guess mainly in part it has to do with losing a top corner in Trayvon Diggs, but nonetheless, the Cowboys defense is pretty tough, but that was until, you got roasted by an offense that's led by Josh Dobbs and the Cardinals. But again, the Niners cannot overlook that. The Niners secondary, it's still trying to gel together. It's still pretty spotty, but this is still an area that Arizona can really attack with the way that they've been playing in the passing department. And then on the defensive side, you can't allow any second or third chance plays to happen. A problem, a problem in Arizona's defense that they've had in the Dallas game was, even though they were up like a double digits, they were still allowing Dallas to try and get back in this game, allowing first downs to happen because they couldn't tackle on initial contact. They couldn't stop any like second or third down plays from happening, converting them into first downs. So that led to one too many second chance opportunities for players like Tony Pollard or Michael Gallup or CeeDee Lamb to extend plays and get first downs. And when you look at this offense from the 49ers, with so much firepower, and even with Deebo Samuel and Juwan Jennings out, whether they're going to be out or not, Arizona's going to have to find ways to take down the 49ers' bevy of talent upon immediate contact. And then for the 49ers, you got to hit home in the pass rush. Arizona's offensive line has kind of held up for the most part against strong defensive fronts against the Commanders and the Cowboys. The 49ers are going to be their first big test, especially in the interior with Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave, and then Javon Kinlaw in the rotation as well. So Javon Kinlaw, by the way, has been surprisingly, his name hasn't been mentioned too much, but he has been a force when he's been called upon in the rotation. But, considering how surprising, like I said, Josh Dobbs has been leading the team under center, the 49ers pass rush is really going to have to increase that pressure to rattle Dobbs. So this has to be another game for Nick Bosa on the edge. And we really need Jake Jackson, again, to have another big game too on the other opposite end. And then offensively, you got to continue to spread the wealth if you're Brock Purdy. Because with no Juwan Jennings, Deebo being a split decision, expect Kyle Shanahan to dial it towards this being a even more targeted game onto George Kittle. Brandon Ayuk probably going to get a bevy of targets again with him being back. And now you got to focus your attention on trying to get something going for Ronnie Bell. I mean, yeah, it's going to be fun and all to try and get Christian McCaffrey into the passing game as well. But you got to spread the wealth towards your other guys too, especially establishing that chemistry with Purdy and the rest of the offense as you get closer to deeper into the season. And then in terms of the running game, Elijah Mitchell is expected to miss this game with another knee issue. So Jordan Mason, their third string running back, could also use some backup reps when Shanahan needs to interchange Christian McCaffrey. So yeah, it's basically about spreading the wealth once again on offense if you're Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan. So yeah, the 49ers cannot sleep on these red angry birds that have been surprisingly angry buds in the Arizona Cardinals. So I know Kyle Shanahan said they're not taking this team for granted, and nor should they. So the 49ers are going to win this game. I mean, I'm predicting it. But yeah, they cannot overlook. They cannot breeze by this because Jonathan Gannon and his team are going to try to give them a fight. In spite of their flaws, they're going to try to pull off that upset that they did against Dallas. But in the end, I think the Niners' talent and the Niners' execution so far will get them this win. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on the 49ers' upcoming Week 4 game against the Arizona Cardinals in the comments below. And yeah, I'd like to start a discussion with y'all on how the Niners will do and could do this coming Sunday. Anyway, this is DylanLasagna signing out of Very Cold Lasagna. And keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And until next time, peace out.